Men of Reddit, what creepy things have women done to you? My ex stabbed me with scissors. When I got home one night, she insisted that since I didn't answer her calls that I was cheating on her. I was not. Scissors went 3 inches into my gut. In a daze of confusion, I wrestled her to the floor in an attempt to stop her attack. I woke up 4 days later to learn her brother, who, while I was trying to subdue her, thought I was attacking her, hit me in the head with a cast iron skillet. 12 stitches and a slightly worse short-term memory later, I said to myself, I'm never talking to her again. Don't stick your in crazy when you know some screws are loose. Was seeing the girl for like 6-ish weeks. We went out one night and she said she had to work late the next day but wanted to come over after. So I gave her my apartment spare key because why not, and told her to let herself in. I ended up falling asleep waiting for her. I woke up at like 12 a.m. and noticed there was like a TV light on in the living room. I just figured she was watching something and maybe grabbing a snack before she came to bed. I got up to say hi, rounded the corner, and she was on my computer sifting through my Facebook. I asked her what she was doing and it was obvious she had no idea I was awake and freaked out. Needless to say, I told her to give me my key back and showed her the door. Funny thing is, if she asked I would have let her look. I had nothing to hide. I would have thought it was weird, but everyone has their trust issues. But doing something like that behind my back was not cool. To this day I never leave my computer without hitting Win-L to lock it. Sucked my blood from an open scab without informing me she was about to do so. She considered herself a vampire. Came back to the dorm to find a girl who I didn't know waiting for me. I had apparently served her food once at the campus food place I worked at. She figured out who I was and where I lived without even my name. Not sure how I managed to shoo her out peacefully, but I did. When I picked up my 90-day chip-in and AA meeting, this old lady seductively kissed my neck and told me congrats. While not interested, I still sprang a boner. I was having sex with a girl for the first time and during it she stopped and said, "I don't think I can do this. I think I'm pregnant." We went to sleep and after that night I continued hanging out with her for a while. She eventually got a boyfriend and he messaged me on Facebook saying, "If I ever see you I'm going to kick your ass. I know what you did to her. Don't respond to this message because I don't want her finding out I'm messaging you." I'm still kind of confused by the whole situation. My 21st birthday. Co-worker took me out for drinks. His girlfriend came along. I used to work with her. Her boyfriend got me in his company after I got laid off. I vomited so much in her bathroom toilet. They went to bed. I woke up several times on her living room couch with her hand up the back of my shirt, rubbing my back. She'd notice I was awake, then go back to bed, then come back a few minutes later. They broke up and he told me how much she wanted to me. Oh, they were both old enough to be my parents, by the way. I was at the grocery store with my wife, then 2-year-old daughter, and twin then infant sons. My wife was pushing a double stroller with our daughter and one of the boys in it, and I was carrying the other, who was calmly cuddled up to my shoulder. We're in the produce section when some random middle-aged woman that I had never seen before spots us, makes a beeline towards me, stretches out her hands, and tries to take my kid out of my arms. She didn't look at my wife or me, didn't say a word to either of us. She just literally tried to grab my son from me with no prompting or invitation whatsoever. I stepped away from her and shielded my kid. My wife chased her off. That wasn't the only weird, creepy middle-aged, older woman to come out of the woodwork when the twins were still babies. But she was the most frightening. This girl who works at my mom's work, the servers, always tells my mom she's going to marry me and thinks I'm cute. It wasn't a big deal at first, but it got out of control for a little bit there, commenting heart eyes and inappropriate remarks on any post my mom made with me tagged in it. She finally followed me on Instagram and liked every one of my 700-something posts. And here comes the best part. She starts messaging me through Instagram and I didn't reply once, but she begins having a conversation with herself with me in my inbox, like asking questions, and answering them for herself and replying as if I said something and saying things like, "I heard from your mom that you're going through a rough time," and opens up to me about her past, which is a long and inappropriate thing to send to someone who hasn't even replied. This is among many other creepy things she's done to me. She doesn't bother me anymore though. Just the occasional like on a picture. I was at the pub with some friends and one of them left a scarf at a now-packed table. She was feeling socially awkward and asked me to get it. I thought no big deal. I'll get it and show her there's nothing to be worried about. I asked a woman in her early 20s, I was 18, if she could pass me the scarf. She got up, walked over to me, wrapped it around my neck and proceeded to try choke me with it, really going for it. Her hands were shaking from the force she was putting into pulling the two ends of the scarf. The pub was packed but everyone just stood there not exactly sure of what was happening, myself included. After what felt like ages, two guys pulled her back to her table. They were looking at me worried, shaking their heads with faces that said we have no idea. Everyone around the table clearly knew her and were shocked by her behavior. I can't help but think about how differently this would have played out if the genders were reversed. If a man did that to a woman in a crowded pub, he'd get thrown out and the police would be called. Third week of May of 1993. I broke up with my girlfriend but she still had my choir letter jacket. We were in high school but going to different high schools. Last day of school, I walked from my high school to her house to get my letter jacket. I get to her house and I see she is not home, so I sat towards the other end of the street waiting for her. Hours later, she finally comes home, so I start walking towards her house. She goes inside. I wait a bit, knock on the door, and say, "Melinda, I just want my choir letter jacket and I'll leave you alone." 30 minutes go by and finally she comes out with it. I'm ready to walk home but no, she offers a ride home, to which I say, "Okay, but I have no interest in talking." Get home and she leaves. Jump to fall of 1993. I am working at JCPenney's in their optical area. Close for the night. Come out, and notice some guy parked next to my car. Blow it off. Leave, and after a few miles, I notice this guy is following me. Okay, time to drive to the police station. I stop at a gas station that had a pay phone and call the non-emergency phone number for the police and told them the situation. I drive to the police station and as I get closer, the officer stops me and the car following me gets barricaded in by two police cars. I found out this person was a retired Texas sheriff that had been hired by my ex, whose father is also a retired Texas sheriff, to keep tabs on me. He gets brought inside and I walk him into calling my ex and tell her he got arrested for following me and she had to come bail him out. So she shows up with her dad and hits the fan. I ended up putting a restraining order on the ex-sheriff along with her entire family. 5 years later, she sent me an invitation to her wedding. I mailed it back with no postage. Written on the invitation, "F off." Years and years back I worked in a call center and was friends with this girl. Didn't think anything of it until she propositioned me to have sex with her. While I was flattered, I told her I was dating someone else and I was not going to cheat. Forward to a few days later, I go into work and get pulled into HR. Turns out she's now filed a sexual harassment claim against me. She worked in one area away from me, but they decided I needed an assigned seat beside my supervisor so that we would have no interaction period. I was fine with that until her friends started sitting not far from me, usually right in front of my field of view, and she'd come over and sit and talk to them, antagonizing the situation. My boss saw what was going on and brought it up to HR. She was pushing the situation, but it was her words, not mine or my boss. Few more weeks of me being watched like a hawk go by and I go into work only to find security and my boss waiting for me. Apparently she felt that me looking in her general direction was harassment enough, so she filed another claim. This time saying I've been sending explicit messages and emails to her. This time my boss fought for me, but I got sent home. Walked out in front of the entire call center surrounded by security. I remember writing an email to HR and management that night stating I had absolutely zero contact with her since the night she propositioned me and offered my computer, a lie detector, anything to prove my innocence as long as they would question her. Well, they apparently brought that to her and she ends up confessing that she made the whole thing up and that she did that to another employee and got them fired because they turned her down. They let her keep her job, in fact gave her a fat severance package a few months later. I got stuck in the same punished seat, being threatened that if I told any coworker what happened I'd be fired. I left a few weeks after that. but she had ruined my reputation. In that line of work I couldn't find a job for anything for a while. Few years down the line she spots me on a dating app and tried to hit me up. To this day I still don't get it.